the 1st of September 1939, Germany invaded Poland, initiating war in Europe. On the 3rd of September 1939, honouring their guarantees at Poland's borders, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the virtual Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, I'd like to welcome you to our display. We're very excited to bring you a unique display of some of the greatest aircraft of World War II. We hope you'll enjoy what we're about to see. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a glorious virtual sound of 7 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines enhanced by 1 Rolls-Royce Griffon. The lead aircraft today is our unmistakable Avro Lancaster B Mark 1 PA-474, also known as the City of Lincoln. She's joined on the right wing by Super Ring Spitfire Mark IIA P7350, one of the flight's 2 Spitfire Mark 19s PS915. On the left wing today, we have this magnificent Hawker Hurricane Mark IIC LF363, virtual vBBMF's youngest Spitfire, Spitfire Mark 14 TE311. Listen again for the symphony of sound as the Lancaster leads the formation through for the 2nd time. Like this weekend's other performers, they've been training hard for many months to bring you this display. Fighter aircraft you see today are private modifications, although the Avro Lancaster is being worked on with a view to public release. And asked if it was 2 weeks out, Scooby and Loki said it'll be done when it's done. Now as the 5 aircraft return to show centre. Sierra's planes fly past for the 3rd time. I'm expecting the fighter pilots to break off into a tail chase. Meanwhile, the Lancaster will head out to the hold. Shot there of the more meteor Hurricane, the other 3 Spitfires. So what's going to happen is the fighters are going to go into trail and they're going to be following LF. So in the lead today is Hurricane Mark IIC LF363. LF joined what was to become the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight in 1956, which was then the historic aircraft flight's founding aircraft and its first Hawker Hurricane. Several Mark 19 Spitfires joined the flight before a second Hurricane arrived from Hawker Siddeley's in 1972. battles during the long summer of 1940. Hurricanes destroyed more enemy aircraft during the Battle of Britain than did all other air and ground defences combined. Designed in 1934, it first entered service in 1937, and when war was declared on the 3rd of September 1939, about 500 Hurricanes were in service and several squadrons were sent to France. During the 1940s German blitzkrieg through the Low Countries and France, they fought a punishing rearguard action in which over 25% of all Fighter Command's aircraft were destroyed. As the Battle of Britain raged in the skies overhead, aircraft production increased so that by September 1940, the number of Hurricane squadrons had risen from 18 a year earlier to 32. It was in a Hurricane of No. 249 Squadron that Flight Lieutenant J.B. Nicholson was awarded Fighter Command's only Victoria Cross. Later in the war, Hurricanes made a significant contribution to the defence of Malta, the Desert War in North Africa, the war against the Japanese in the Far East. Following LF today is our clipped-winged Spitfire Mark 16 TE-311. See a good view there of LF's clipped wings and the dual radiators slung underneath them. TE joined the flight in 2002 as a spares recovery airframe, but when the engineers took a look at the TE, they realised she was an ideal candidate for restoration to an airworthy state. Over the next few years, under the keen eye of Chief Technician Paul Blacker, TE was meticulously restored by vBBMF's dedicated engineering team and flew again in the capable hands of Squadron Leader Dunk Mason in 2013. The aircraft pulling through a Derry turn there, reversing back to the display line. TE is a fairly late war Spitfire and features many improvements, such as the so-called clip wing, where the wingtips are removed and squared off. This provides a much increased roll rate, especially at low level, where the Mark 16 was usually employed against BF-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s. As she passes, you can see that TE is equipped with a bubble-top canopy, and this gave fighter pilots a much better rearward view compared to earlier Marks, and is fairly comparable to that seen on the P-51D Mustang in terms of visibility from the cockpit. Aircraft pulling up into a wing over. Watch now as the trailing fighters follow the lead. Wing over is often the quickest way to change direction and return to the target, the aircraft trading speed for altitude and then swapping altitude for speed as they return back to the combat area for a second gun run. The third aircraft in the tail chase today is historically significant, but currently being the only airworthy example of the type that was involved in combat during the Battle of Britain. P7350, or P7 as she's affectionately known on the flight, was the 14th of 11,939 Spitfires built at Castle Bromwich production line in Birmingham. And she first took to the air in the capable hands of Supermarine Chief Test Pilot Alex Henshaw in August 1940. In September, she joined No. 266 Squadron at RAF Wittering before entering the battle with Hornchurch-based 603 City of Edinburgh Squadron on October the 17th. By the end of the Battle of Britain, according to more recent academic research, including the scrutiny of German records, 603 Squadron were identified as the highest scoring Battle of Britain squadron. P7 was damaged in combat with BF-109s on the 25th of October, while being flown by Polish pilot officer Ludwig Martel. P7's combat wounds resulted in a wheels-up landing, and she was sent for repair before rejoining ops on the 18th of March 1941. P7 was withdrawn from frontline use in August of that year, and then served in second-line duties until the war's end. Bought for scrap in 1948, P7 was donated to the RAF as a historic display item before being made airworthy for the 1967 film The Battle of Britain. P7 was then donated by the film's producers to the embryonic vBBMF at the end of production and has been with the flight since 1968. You can see the fighters forming up now. I'm expecting to see P7 followed by PS. Then you've got LF on the port wing with T trailing. Keep an eye to the front now, ladies and gents, for the fighter split. Sweet work, gents. Following P7 today is our final Spitfire, PS915. Unlike the other fighters on display today, PS is powered by a 37-litre Rolls-Royce Griffin engine producing some 2,035 horsepower and 7,000 feet. PS is a photographic reconnaissance version of the Spitfire, completely unarmed. She was capable of flying at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet. The first Mark 19 Spitfires entered service in May 1944. By the end of the war, the type had virtually replaced the earlier PR-9. A total of 225 were built, with production ceasing in early 1946, but they were used in frontline service until 1954. In fact, the last time a Mark 19 was used to perform an operational act was in 1963, when it was used in battle trials against an English electric Lightning to determine how best a Lightning should engage piston-engined aircraft. This information was needed in case RAF Lightnings might have to engage P-51 Mustangs in the Indonesian conflict of the time. If you cast your eyes now low and right, you'll see the city of Lincoln returning from the hold, ready for her display shot. Needing little introduction, vBBMF's Lancaster B1 PA474 is undoubtedly the star of the show. PA474 was acquired by vBBMF in 1973 and is one of only two surviving airworthy examples of the type, the other being in Canada. PA474 was built in mid-1945 and was to have been assigned to the Tiger Force, which was an Allied bomber force that was being readied to bomb Japan. In the event, America dropped atomic weapons on the Japanese mainland and Japan surrendered. So PA474 had its armament removed and was used for reconnaissance tasks with 84 Squadron. After various duties, she was adopted by the Air Historical Branch for display work and was based at RAF Waddington near Lincoln. During her time there, she appeared in two films: Regulation Sunday Afternoon Viewing in the 1980s, that's Operation Crossbow and the Guns of Navarone. As many of the Bomber Command squadrons were based in Lincolnshire, PA474 was granted the freedom of the city of Lincoln, and today proudly flies with the city's coat of arms on the starboard side of the nose. The City of Lincoln displays squadron markings. On the port side, she's painted as a Lancaster 460 Royal Australian Air Force Squadron, coded ARL, or L for Leader, and she has a nose art of a kangaroo playing bagpipes, indicating the Scottish and Australian background of this Bomber Command crew. The starboard side carries the 50 Squadron code letters VNT for Tango and represents the Lancaster flown by Flying Officer Douglas Milliken, Distinguished Flying Cross, on 27 of his first tours of operation. Interesting to note that Dougie Milliken's grandson, Millie, became OC vBBMF a number of years ago. See PA 474 turning left and dropping her gear for a slow 5-pass with the gear extended. Have a look at the top side as she comes around the corner now. You can see the unique Lancaster camouflage. Wasn't much use in the dark, of course, the top surface of the wings, but if they're on a daylight raid, maybe viewing down onto the aircraft, made the aircraft more difficult to see. The aircraft painted black underneath, of course, so that anybody looking up into the sky at night would hopefully see a bit less of the Lancaster. Coming back then with gear down. Our Lancaster flies today to remember the 55,573 Allied airmen who lost their lives while serving with Royal Air Force Bomber Command during the Second World War. Ladies and gentlemen, the virtual Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, like its real-world counterparts, our Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight commemorates all those who lost their lives in the service of the Royal Air Force. Again for a final fly past, and the fighters will be forming up behind her and continue on their way to another display today. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Ladies and gentlemen, lest we forget. ventilation clears to the right. It's worth remembering that you're in the UK near Lincoln. You can visit RAF vBBMF Visitor Centre. During the 2014 display season, the Battle of Britain Lancaster was joined in UK skies by the Canadian Warplane Heritage Lancaster. During Vera's visit to the UK, both Lancasters met up with the first jet-powered successor, Avro Vulcan XH-558, for a combined flight over Lincolnshire's Bomber Command Memorial. First flown only 10 years after the Lancaster's initial flight, the mighty Avro Vulcan still looks futuristic today. In from the right then, ladies and gentlemen, recreating a formation only seen by a privileged few up until now. Please welcome back vBBMF Avro Vulcan XH-558.